as my glass broke earlier, fell over, and then it was a freak accident. I was doing some work over there, and I just fell over. And then what happened was it was already coming off anyway, and so I just finished the job. So I need my glasses so I can see. So I didn't see that one lens. I've got to go to my opticians tomorrow or Wednesday and get it mended. So I hope you all fine. We set this channel up about maybe 8 years, 9 years ago, but we never really got serious about the channel until maybe. And so you know, we've got most of the videos we've posted, and there have been uploads of recorded or pre-recorded videos that we've done around the place. We've gone outside, and so I said, you know what, it's time that the fans. I know there's only 308 of you, but still, I want the fans to kind of see us up close and personal. And there's gonna come a time when we'll do more live streams because some of you. So don't forget to haven't done so already. We get lots of views, but we don't got the subscribers as much as the views. So don't it doesn't cost a penny to subscribe. And so we thank you so much as well for your participation and for your support and for all the love you show me. I go to a lot of places and you congratulate me on what I'm doing, and so it's so good to go live for the first time. We're here to talk about the Moors. Who are the Moors? This is part one, where the title is self-explanatory. So we're here to talk about the Moors. This is a brief story about the Moors. This stream won't be very long. It maybe under half an hour long, this live stream. And then we're going to do part one. We're going to maybe do 4 parts. But the Moors were a special people who came out of, according to research and according to history, came out of West Africa, Northwest Africa. So you're looking at countries like Mauritania, you're looking at countries like Senegal, you're looking at countries like Morocco, and Nigeria, and some of the Moors came from Ghana, and some of the Moors came from Sudan, which is more to the east of the continent. Moors were special because they set a trend that was never seen for a mighty long time. Let's not forget that the Moors existed around the Middle Ages. So the Middle Ages was about 700, 800 years, 900 years ago. So in the 1400s, the Moors existed. And the Moors were, you could say men, but they had women Moors. We're going to talk about that sometime down. Women Moors or the lady Moors. Some call them the women Moors or the lady Moors, who they're working in tandem with the men. But the Moors were very, very skilled guys. They mastered the arts of architecture. So you're looking at places like the Middle East now, in the Arab world. A lot of those buildings that you see in the Arab world and North Africa and Southern Europe were constructed and they were designed by the Moors. Came out of Africa, North Africa, as I said, Northwest Africa. They constructed these buildings and they stand the test of time even today. So if you look at the Muslim and Arab world, that most of those buildings were constructed by the Moors. You see, they also were very, very skilled in biology, and also skilled in plants. They know what the herbs were, the plants, so how to cultivate lands, and how to cultivate the land and how to grow crops and what season to grow certain foods in and what when not to. And so they're very, very good also at predicting the weather, the 4 seasons, the Moors. They're very good at predicting that, and they knew about when the 4 seasons were coming, because at that time, because of a lack of technology and a lack of gadgets to know that compasses, for example, to know, okay, this is now summer season, okay, this is now winter season, and this is now autumn season. The Moors were really, really adroit and really, really adept. And no, maybe 20 years ago, I mean, I was really studying mostly about the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and those guys. And I remember I was listening to a person is now still in existence, because I've not heard them for maybe 50 FM. And I remember there was a guy on there called Cool Breeze. And he used to come on every Friday nights on Flame FM. And he used to talk about a lot of things to do with Black history. He used to talk about the civil rights movement, what's going on now, the youths at that time. And then they used to go very deep into African culture. They used to, and then one, they used to come on a Friday night, man called in, got into it. I wasn't really into the Moors as such. This is, like I said, nearly 20 years ago. The more conquests and so on. I thought, this is fascinating stuff. Let me listen to what this guy is saying. And so he was amazing. And then he called in the following, he called in for about 4 or 5 weeks straight. Then after a while, I never heard him again. And every week he was calling, talking about the Moors, what the Moors were doing. And I suppose that was what really triggered my interest in the Moors and the Moor conquests of obviously of Africa. And then obviously they went into Southern Europe and they actually colonized. You could say that they actually civilized Spain, colonized Spain. So Spain, that's why you see all those buildings, I said, of the Arab world, the Middle East and Arab world, places like Italy, Spain and France. And then this young man was talking about all these things. He was quite remarkable. And the guy called Breeze, he knew about these things because he was, he was well read. And I knew a few things, but that got me more curious as to do more research around the Moors, because my thing was mostly about the Bible, what was in the Bible and the Rasta movement and some, but the Moors were a little bit new to me at that time. So also the last 20 years, I started to take more interest in the Moors and what the Moors were about, where they came from. And I'm still learning about the Moors, as there's still a lot of things about the Moors, but I do not know. And I've got so many books here, I read every day, but there's still a lot of things that that I listen to Van Sertima, I listen to John Henry Clark, I listen to Dr. Ben and so many others, Muta Baruka, and all of these men who talk about the Moors and the Moor conquest, written books about the Moors, but it's almost as if there's still so much more about the Moors that you still can't comprehend, and you still need to learn more and be taught more about them. And so I've got to realize those were very, very skilled people. And that's one of the reasons why the Queen and the King of Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella, run them out of Spain because they wanted to take over Spain, which was a Christian country at that time. So here the Moors were Muslims from Africa coming into what is obviously a European country, a Christian country. And so the monarchy and the royal family of Spain at that time said, no, we're not having you. You've got to go. So they run them out, they expel them from Spain, who comes on as time goes on. But yes, this is the basic, like at the start of the Moorish journey. And so when I read somewhere about Roll Rocco from Mali and many other countries, Mauritania, so the west and the northeast of Africa. So you know what? We're going to go and we're going to try to do so. We're going to try to civilize much of the world, and they never got the chance to go all over the world. But what they did do, they actually went into Southern Europe, they went into North Africa, obviously being from the continent, obviously from West Africa, they're there already, and much of the Arab world. And they went as far as France, civilizing France, teaching also the French and Italians, the Europeans how to dress, because the Moors were the first group of people, group of great men, group of great people to actually wear leather. They brought leather into Europe, leather jackets, leather coats, leather shoes, belts, all this style. They brought all of that into France, and hence why the French and Italians, are sharp dressers. But that all stems from the Moors' influence in style and fashion. So not only that, and much of North Africa, they also brought with them a great fashion sense to teach the Europeans about dress sense. It reminds me of when, like, my parents are from Jamaica, much of my family's from Jamaica. It kind of like reminds me of when the people from the Windrush, like my grandparents and my parents' generation, when they came to England in the 1950s, and they bought their pork pie hat, their felt hat, their suits, their wonderful dress sense, and they brought in, they taught the English and the British that kind of influence of fashion brought from the Caribbean in this regard, from my grandparents and parents, was brought their dress sets, from Africa into Europe and into much of Arabia. And a lot, I don't, when I hear stories about the Moors conquest, and about what the Moors were doing, you don't hear this side of the story. I don't hear about the dress sense and the fashion that the Moors bought, the leathers that they wore, the leathers that they're cold, because and much of the leather, they're the ones that manufactured it, because they were self-taught. They just knew how to cultivate these things, how to manufacture these things. Nobody really, I'm not saying nobody taught them, but they got it from somewhere. But they were more or less self-taught. That's what I've said about the pottery and those things, and working on the land, gardening, farming, about these things. They taught these things. And I suppose it was handed down from generation, because obviously life started in Africa, so they would have known these things from when they were coming up, and hence they're able to go out into the wider world and bring these things with them. You see, don't forget to send a like to this video and share our videos, share all of our videos. I would like to say thanks for subscribers so far, and we're here talking about the Moors. Just a brief story, the first part of about 4. I'll see if I can do up to 4. We're going to move it along. It might be more than 4, but we're going to move it along as time goes on, and see what, at the same time, be able to walk. I know that you guys, when you're ready, I know that it's a bit late now. It's about coming up to 11:30 in the night. This is in London, in England, and I know possibly when you guys are more awake, I suppose, you'll be able to actually watch the videos back. You can always watch it back in a rerun. See, I'm just typing some stuff in there now, just saying greetings to the guys that are watching but they're not comment. Typing a few things in. This is the first time I've been live, actually. I've never been live before on this channel. No, I've been live once, but that was a few weeks ago when I was talking about what we're doing, and I wasn't feeling too well at that time. But this is the first time I've been properly live, actually talking about something, talking about a topic, and this is actually about the Moors. And say greetings to you guys. Yeah, so we're here talking about the Moors, the great Moors of Africa. We're inspired Africa, and even in the Americas, there's lots of buildings in the Americas and North America and even the Caribbean that have been inspired by Moorish architecture. You see, we're going to talk more about the Moors ethnicity in the second part. Yeah, the second part we're going to talk about the Moorish ethnicity. Where were they from? What ethnicity they were, and a few other things. And then part 3. It depends on the response from you guys out there. If you guys want us to do some more, we'll see how it goes. But I'm more than happy to be here. If you've got questions to ask me, you can just feel free to these people. How are you all doing? And then we're going to try and it'd be good if we can go live. See, and so you can get to see what we're about, who we are, talk to us, and get acquainted with us. Why not? Why not at all? Yeah, so the Moors were great people, and at school, I never knew nothing about the Moors. I never knew about Moorish architecture, Moorish design, even mosaics. And I'd like to do maybe what I'll do one day. I actually did a video of the Moors about 4 or 5 months ago, but when I was trying to edit it, it didn't come out, and I was putting up some things on there for you to see. And I'll do another video about the Moors. I won't go live this time. I'll do a video somewhere here in the house, and just show you the video. So I'll edit it so you can see the pictures of the Moors, and you can see some of the works they've done, like mosaics, like designs and patterns that a lot of people use as liners. Because even liners were done from the Moors, and so were created by the Moors. Liners, tiles, uh, certain carpets that the Muslims use when they kneel down and pray. Those pattern designs, a lot of that was designed by the Moors. That stemmed from the Moors, and that was inspired by them. And so not a lot of people speak about these things. So I think these things should be highlighted. But there's also another part where I was saying, somebody said to me some years ago that, you know what, Chrissy B, at the same time, you know, the Moors actually sold their people out. So I've been trying to do some research as to how the Moors actually sold our people out. And I've not seen anything so far. But I'm going to keep digging and I'm going to keep asking, because I've watched a lot of videos, I've done a lot of reading, and I can't seem to see where maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's just going totally over my head. But I'm going to keep looking because I love to research and I love to get to the point, and I don't like to do things until I'm totally certain that that makes a good point, and that, until I find a point and say, you know what? Oh, that's why they did that. Oh, that's why people have been saying, oh, the Moors were sellouts, you know, were traitors of the black race, of the African race. So when I do my research and find that, yeah, then I'll definitely bring it to the table and draw my own conclusions to it. Because I think that's the best way to do it, draw your own conclusions. Of course, you take what other people are saying, but a lot of us, we look at things from different angles. I might look at Dr. Clark. Dr. Clark might look at a different angle from Dr. Van Sertima. Ruta Veruca might look at it from a different angle, you know, from Prophet Eye. And we all like to see things differently. Sometimes we do see things similar in a similar fashion. But a lot of the times we see things, we've got own opinions, and it's very good to have your own opinion and be able to argue your own opinion, be able to argue your point. And I think that's a very good thing to have, you know, if it's at all possible. Anyway, brothers and sisters, we're coming up to 20 minutes now. I'll tell you a little bit about the Moors. And, you know, we're going to often, you know, creating many things, whether, you know, making clothes, making silks. That's another thing the Moors brought to Europe. Silk shirts, silk. We used to love these silk socks. I remember he had a lot of silk socks in around the house when he used to go out on a Saturday night because he worked so hard in the week. And from Monday to Friday, he worked so hard. And so Saturdays was a time for him to unwind. And so he'd go out with his pals, go out to clubbing, go out for dinners. And I was too young to go because I was a kid at the time. He used to have all these silk socks lying around the place. And he liked also his silk shirts. My dad was a man of class. And so looking back now, obviously that was inspired by the Moors, because the Moors brought that from Africa into Europe. And so at the time you're a kid, you don't know these things, but when you get to a certain age, you get to realize, oh, that's where that came from. And so that's why I want to do streams about the Moors, because they touch many of our lives, even today as we speak. And even though a lot of people have got a bit skeptical about some of the things they've done, sell out thing, that's why I say I want to do research about that. And one or two other things, one or two other issues. The Muslim thing as well, was a lot of people are saying that Islam isn't really our culture, isn't really our religion and culture. And the Moors were really steeped into Islam, you know. And so a lot of black people say, yeah, but they're not really the Arabs. But regardless, they're black locals. And of course, there's intermixing, intermarrying, of course. And as I said, the Moors stretch from much of north to west, north to west Africa, northwest Africa, much of and going straight into Central Africa and into East, where Sudan is. Well, some of the Moors are from Sudan as well. And so we're going to hit upon that, if not the next episode, part 2, part 3. Okay, brothers and sisters. So once again, you take care of yourselves and look after yourselves. Thank you for your participation. Yeah, get up to 1,000 subscribers if we can. I've said and I've maintained that if we get to when we get to 1,000, not if, because I'm very confident we get to 1,000. When we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to give away some things. We're going to give away some DVDs and some books, and so on, and maybe even give away some CDs. So Some goodie bags are on their way, and we're going to set a competition. So that's why you need to watch my videos, and then I'm going to set a competition based on some of the things I've said in some of my videos, and then we'll give away 3 prizes. So the first runners up and the second runners up. So the winner will get a big prize. The runners up will get a good prize, substantial prize, and the third or the second runner up will get a decent prize. So 3 prizes to give away, brothers and sisters, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, and they're going to be goodies. I'm telling you, and they're going to be some real goodies and some real treats. You know. So you peace and love. Chris, we loved it all. Peace and guidance. Big yourself up. Big up. Keep it this